One of the most useful features of QREST is its ability to house data that you either pull or you manually import using different import configs that you can save, because oftentimes you're going to be downloading data from that analyzer or data logger or website again. So a great new feature in QREST for manual importing is its ability to detect gaps. A lot of times the power went down and you have some gaps in your data. That can be really problematic when you're preparing a report, a chart, or sending your data to AQS if you've got some gaps in there. And eventually, if you are wanting to put all your data into one database, QREST is perfect for that, so that you can query the database, look at trends over time, compare parameters, even compare sites. So let's see how QREST does that. So from the main dashboard, you go to Air Data, Manual Import, and QREST offers the ability to import data in 4 different formats that then you can customize. So the first format is something that a lot of data loggers produce reports as. It's an easy way to look at 1 month of data for one parameter at a time, where every row is a new day and every column is an hour, and it's just, say, for PM10. And so if you have data that you routinely download and you want to import to QREST, that's one of the formats. Hourly data, 5-minute data. If you've got 5-minute data, especially if you are concerned about any equipment malfunctions, 5-minute data can be really useful for looking at super short-term changes in concentration or how your equipment is acting. And then the ability to import AQS pipe delimited format. It is really common for tribal agencies that are relatively old and have been monitoring for a while to have some data in AQS, perhaps for sites that are no longer active, or data that was uploaded by a contractor. If you want all your data in one place, you can download your data from AQS, import it into QREST, and then you can analyze data over all the years or all the sites or however your data is organized in QREST. So we're going to look at how the new gap filling feature works with hourly data. So I am now working for the ITEP agency, and I'm going to import this PM10 data. You can see that you can set up different import templates for perhaps different sources, or sometimes you might download the data and the date time is in different columns. We're going to use this PM10 import config. We can look at the setup and then we can compare it to our data. So let's just take a look at what this means here. This means it's tab delimited, and I know, right away, my data are like this. So these are commas that separate every column. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to change this to comma and then click Save, and always remember it may be obscured in the lower part of your screen, that Save button. So this looks great. Let's just check the columns real quickly. So it looks like the date here is in the 4th column, represented by, if you count the commas, because this is .csv data, comma separated data, which also is commonly .txt. And if I count the commas over, 1, 2, 3, 4, date time is in column 4, and it's in the same column, and that's the format. So let's double check that in QREST, and I can see, yes, month, date, y, in column 4. The same column has the time, hour, minute, and then PM10 is in column 5, and that's in red here. So that looks good. So what we're going to do now is go back to the import screen, and here I'm going to say yes to run the validation checks. And what those do is those are the level 0 automatic database applied flags that help you identify the data later. They don't invalidate it or anything. They just attach a flag that says either min, it's below the minimum you had specified, max, jump from one record to the next, or lost, or stuck if it's the exact same value for more than 3 records in a row. And we're going to go ahead and say yes, because it's really hard to look through this data and see, I mean, how can you identify any trends in this? So let's pull it into QREST by very simply selecting everything except for the header row. Control Shift right, Control Shift down, select the whole thing, Control C, and then paste it in here, Control V, import data. And this is a little under a month's worth of data. So there's a few missing date times in here. And what QREST is doing is it says, would you like us to add the missing null rows here with just lost flag applied? And the answer is always going to be yes, because even if you find those records at another time, you can go back in and write over, because QREST is just saying it's creating a blank row for these records that are missing. So we're going to say fill gaps above, and it will just fill those gaps with the null. And if you're ever wondering, did I import that already? What was that? Was it the wrong data? You can actually not only look at the file that you just imported, but you can also look at the raw data. Let's take a look at this down here. What raw data did I import? You can look at it and you could say, oh yeah, that was that fake radon data I imported, or whatever it is. You can see the original data that you imported for all your previous imports. And if, for example, that wasn't the right site or whatever, you can delete all those imported records.